Good morning. Welcome to the Celtic Way Morning Briefing Live. I'm Tony Haggerty, Haggerty10, as you know, the Twitter handle. And I'm delighted to be joined today by Alison McConnell. How are you, Alison? Lovely day where you are.
It is indeed, Tony. Good drying day.
Yeah. Yes, you're speaking off here. Excellent. Talking about the highs and lows of putting out washings. Marvellous. Right, as we always do, first things first, indeed. We big up our sponsor, One Football. Get downloading the One Football app, guys. You know by now what to do. It's the one-stop football shop for scores, news, lineups, transfer rumours, live streaming, match highlights, and much, much more. You can immerse yourself in the digital football world and have the best personal digital football experience out there. So get downloading the One Football app, and we thank them for their sponsorship. We really do. And also running along the bottom, as you can see, you can still enjoy 30 days on us. You just hit the subscribe button, www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. That's the business end of the pod tied up. Alison, excellent. Now, Alison, I'm going to speak about something that you wrote this morning on the Celtic Way. I've put the link up. You can have a read at it. And it's, I think it's something that's worthy of talking about, Alison. It is, as you say, Giorgos, Giakoumakis and Kyogo. Can the two of them play in the same team? Now, you've written a column on your thoughts on that, but we'll talk about it just now, and we'll see if we can get some comments from those that are joining and listening and watching. What do you think, Alison? Can Celtic afford to put the two of them in the same team? Will Ange ever do it? Because the two of them are on form. Giakoumakis' form by the end of the season ended up the top goal scorer in the league, scored a wonderful kick against Motherwell, and his goal against Kosovo the other night, his header was sensational.
Yeah, it was his header that prompted the idea for the column, because I thought he finished the season very strongly. And then I think the header was just indicative of a player who's oozing confidence at the minute by the way he's been playing in a domestic context. I think it raises very interesting questions about next season. Now, the one caveat I would say is, well, we can discuss it, and I think it's a very delicious dilemma for Ange Postecoglou to have. When you look through his track record, when you look at the clubs he's managed internationally and domestically, Postecoglou has never went with a traditional front two pairing ever in his coaching career at any point. So I'm not sure that he would be prepared to deviate from the system that he's kept faith with at Celtic. But I think it's certainly worthy of discussion and of consideration, because I think they would be a fairly tantalising combination, I think, if they were deployed together. I think both offer very different skill sets. I think Kyogo Furuhashi has elevated and energised Celtic. I think when he's fit and on form, I think he really makes Celtic play. I think he's his intelligence, his movement, his creativity, and his ability just to make something from nothing. And I'm thinking about that goal in the League Cup final at Hampden. I think, he's very, very capable of something a bit special. Giakoumakis, I think, is more than just a big physical presence. I think the fact that so many of his goals would have been one-touch finishes or like that header, I think he's more than just a big battering physical forward, and I think it'd be very intriguing to see how the two of them would play together if they were to start.
Yeah, I put the link in. You can read the excellent article that Alison put on the site there. Yeah, I agree. Now, I would never dream of telling Ange what team to pick, although we sometimes try to do it ourselves. But I just think there's a case for both of them, Alison, at some point, because the two of them are in blistering form, but it's all sorts and plethora of opinions coming in. David Bradley coming in and says, "Morning, David. Bad teams, yes. Good teams, no. The retro Celtic, no, they cannot. Kyogo is the number one striker for Ange." I think we have witnessed that fact that he seems to favour Kyogo whenever he is fit. Alison, that's a thing. But Giakoumakis is on a red hot streak of goal scoring form, both at club and international level. do you continue to ignore that? That's all I'm saying. It is a real dilemma, and one the manager's maybe going to have to sort out.
I think dilemma is a word for it. I think I would agree. I think Kyogo Furuhashi has the starting jersey. I think if he's fit, he starts. And I'm not sure you could put up a compelling argument against that. I think given his track record, I know he was out for 4 months, but I think what you saw in the first half of the season when he was fully fit, I think he was just so integral to how Celtic played and just so pivotal to the energy that he brought to the side. I think he was a massive player. I think you can absolutely see why he would hold the number one striker shirt. On the other hand, I think Giakoumakis has also offered a fairly compelling argument for inclusion. I don't think he's done anything wrong when he had to step up at the end of January when he came in. He was fit himself after a couple of niggling injuries when he was fit and Furuhashi was sidelined. I think he took on that mantle of responsibility. I think he'll be pleased with the fact he finished joint top scorer in the league, given the fact that he effectively missed the opening half of the season. And I think it would not be beyond him to be sitting at 25 to 30 goals next season, assuming he gets the adequate game time. But I do wonder how you shoehorn both of them into the system. I think Kyogo's blunted when he plays or wide. I think you saw it at times last season when he played at Ibrox, and you just don't. He's not as effective as he is when he's coming through the middle. So I think it's a very, very interesting headache to have, the kind of headache that all managers claim to quite enjoy. Again, what I would say is the opening half of this season is fairly intense, as we've spoken of repeatedly. So I think there's probably is scope maybe to rotate and to offer both game times. But on a personal level, I think it would be interesting to see both of them play together. And the comparison I made in that column was a kind of Henrik Larsson and Chris Sutton combination. I think both have very different attributes and different things that they bring to the table. And I think when you watch both of them in conjunction, I think it would be easy on the eye, to say the least. And I think it would create significant openings for Celtic. Whether or not that ever comes to pass, I'm not sure, or certainly whether it comes to pass as a starting lineup. It might come into the fact that as games go deeper and there's a tweaking system, but I'm just not sure that there is anything in Ange Postecoglou's back record that would point to playing with a traditional front two.
Kenny McArdle poses a question: what if they both get injuries? Both did last season, but at different times. David Bradley comes back in. Giorgos Giakoumakis is just getting into gear, and Mr. Weirhead comes in. No reason why Ange could not change to prudently use two up front. So you're talking about Alison. He's never done that, so but he would have to look at that. And Ted comes in and says George scored a beautiful goal for Greece this week. Yeah, we've alluded to that header. If you haven't seen it, check out the highlights on that. Yeah. And Frank Brennan comes in. I disagree that it's ever a delicious dilemma for Ange to have, but instead only ever a headache, and a headache that will never go away for us fans, in particular when one is sitting on the bench. That's a fair comment as well, Frank. But I think it's a great debate, isn't it, to have? And it's a great talker because everybody has their opinion on it. And as you know, Alison Celtic are in the Champions League straight into the group stages. They will be playing against all sorts of calibre of teams and trying to break them down. And sometimes you mentioned Sutton and Larsson. They did not too badly against Champions League teams, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. I think and you would point the similarities perhaps there and with Ange Postecoglou's team would be the reliance on wide players too and how effective they were. The wing back roles kind of similar in the way that Celtic now play with inverted fullbacks and then the two wingers when you have Jota and Maeda, or you have Jota and Forrest, or Jota and Abada. Giving you that width in games. It's interesting. Yeah, I think it is. I know I was getting slagged there for saying a delicious dilemma. I think it is. I think Ange Postecoglou will quite enjoy having the consideration of both players and the merits in which they bring. Whether or not it's enough to suggest a deviation in style is an entirely other question.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think this is what you want as a manager. I think you want to know that you've got two very capable players. You have goals within your side, particularly the way that Celtic play. I think he'll be quietly satisfied that you have two guys vying for that position that you know both will get the return that you want.
I also agree with you that I think both of those strikers should be targeting 25, 30 goals next season if they both play to their capabilities and potential and feature a lot and stay injury free. I don't see any reason why either of those two strikers can't hit between 25 and 30 goals.
I think the figures that they posted this season, and both had significant spells and huge chunks of the campaign out injured, would definitely lend itself to that school of thought.
Now transition comes in. Would Ange change to a 3-5-2 or a 4-4-2, as we will need to be more flexible in formation, especially in the Champions League's away games where we don't have possession? I mean, that was my thoughts on that, Alison, about you're going to have to maybe do something tactically when you're away in the Champions League. But again, he's not one for changing his system, and he has said repeatedly that he won't change his system. That's clearly down to the manager.
Yeah, I think he's spoken extensively about shunning any kind of pragmatism. I think we all know by now. You know, what was it he said? I've never parked a bus or I've never driven a bus.
Yeah.
I think you know that. I think at times last season he played almost with two holding midfielders on a couple of games at the start. I'm thinking going back to the early months of his campaign, so that might be a consideration. I don't think there'll be a huge deviation in style from what you've seen this season and the way that Celtic play that kind of 4-3-3. I don't think there'll be a significant move away from it. I think that will probably be the system that he keeps faith with. Albeit it may change within games at times or offer an opportunity to tweak it within games if it's maybe not working. But yeah, I think it's interesting. I think it's certainly talking points. And I think too what will be interesting is just who is brought in over the course of the summer, what new arrivals come in, and it might just give you an indication again of a kind of style and tactical input of how he wishes to set up.
Well, Alison, you've thrown that grenade in there on the website. I would urge people to read it, and comments are still coming thick and fast. I genuinely think it's a brilliant talker, to be honest. You know, BEC comes in, definitely some top quality players for the Champions League. Surely we can attract somewhere in the group stage. Yeah, I get that too, and that's what you're alluding to as well. But you know, it is an interesting one with those two guys because they are both wonderful footballers who would walk into any team. And I guess that's the kind of strength and depth that Celtic have had that Ange Postecoglou favours rotating both of them, Alison.
Yeah, I think it gives you options. I think it gives you, and right now what you would say is that you have two very quality players vying for the one position. So I think whoever starts, I think now has the trust of the players round about them, and I think they have the trust of the support, given the track record of last season and how they contributed. How it goes from there, I think, will be fairly intriguing.
Nice one. I think we'll leave that subject there and we'll go on to our international stars, Alison. And big up to Matt O'Reilly, who scored his first goal for the Danish under-21s last night. Don't know if you saw it, was a wonderful volley, but he's doing his case. No harm at all, Alison, to book a seat on the plane for Qatar 22 for the Danish full international squad, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think he'll be really looking to kick on in terms of coming back and going into a fresh season with Celtic. I think he made a fantastic start to his Celtic career. I think his contribution was excellent from when he came in January. I thought it was a very seamless arrival into the team. I think he'll fancy that he wants to be playing now week in, week out. And if he can do that, I certainly think he'll give himself ample opportunity to make that step up into the full Danish squad. I think he's a very exciting footballer. He's very young still. And I think what you've seen from him over the course of the first 5 months that he's been at Celtic would certainly augur well for the pivotal and significant role that he may play in the heart of Celtic's midfield next season.
Yeah, and for the price that Celtic paid for him, he's an absolute bargain, Alison, £1.5 million. And as you say, he came in, it was a seamless transition. He's shown very early on that he's a quality footballer.
Yeah, I think so. And I think there would have been very few expectations, I think, when he first came in, given his background, where he was coming from, the fact he'd been out of the game for a bit and training on his own. I don't think anyone really suspected the impact that he would have very quickly. Mm-hmm. And I think he's a very athletic player. I think he's so suited to the way that Ange Postecoglou plays in terms of the running that he does and the work rate that he does. He's able to come up with goals. He's able to come up with assists. I think he's an ideal fit in that midfield. And I think the challenge for him now that Tom Rogic has gone is to be featuring on a much more regular basis. And I don't say that lightly. I know he really had a fine contribution last season, but I think he'll want to be playing now every week. I think he'll want to make that first team jersey his own.
David Bradley comes in and says the boy's going places. I believe that too. I can't speak highly enough of Matt O'Reilly and the retro Celtic. Celtic are going to make millions from Matt O'Reilly. There you go. And Sean Curran says he comes across as having a maturity beyond his years. I think most people are in agreement, Alison, and I'm in agreement with you. I want to see Matt O'Reilly kick on now, and I think a great start to Celtic season and an impact in the Champions League. He will go to the World Cup in Qatar with Denmark. I fully believe he'll do enough to get selected for that tournament. And if he doesn't make that tournament, there'll be plenty of other tournaments in the future for him.
Yeah, he'll certainly have designs on it. There's no question he'll have ambitions on it. But I would agree with one of the comments here. I do think he's quite a mature player. Yeah. I think he's a mature boy. I've spoken to him a few times, and I think he comes across as very grounded, very hardworking, very diligent. And I think that goes a long way. I think when you have that kind of attitude off the park and you're willing to get your head down and listen to the advice that you're taking, I think he knows the chance that he's got. I think he's very appreciative of the stage he's found himself on at Celtic. And I think what comes across is a willingness to grasp it, make the most of it and really push on in his career. And I suspect if he continues playing in the same vein, this time next summer, that there might be a fear about who would come in for him and where he might go. But I think he's a very exciting talent.
You talk about players coming in and grasping that nettle and getting it right away. Matt O'Reilly just seems to have taken it all on board. But as you say, that old head on a young shoulders, nothing has fazed Matt O'Reilly since he's come into the club. And his performances in a Celtic jersey so far have certainly been true to that. I like just the way he's handled everything since he came in, because he came in with no real fanfare, did he? He came in the back of Riley McGree deal, supposedly going all right. All of a sudden, Matt O'Reilly came in, and it was like, oh, who's this guy? And all of a sudden, he just showed his natural talent.
Yeah, I think that can be so important too, to get off to a very good start. So there was that game against Hearts, there was a game against Rangers. I think he made an excellent start to his Celtic career, and I think that gives you a very strong foundation then to build on. I think it offers a level of confidence and belief immediately, which I think for some players can be crucial. But I think he comes across as a boy who has a quiet belief about his own ability and a work rate to match it, and an attitude of going and maximising what he has at his disposal and making the most of the opportunity that he's got. And I think you'll see a lot of him this season.
And also, Alison, our 4 Celtic players in the Scotland setup all saw game time last night in the 4-1 win against Armenia. Some horrible scenes at the end with bottles and stuff coming onto the park. But I think Callum McGregor's earned a rest, is he not?
Yeah, I think so. I think Celtic will really... I think it's very important, actually, that he does get an adequate break, because, again, you're coming into the season... You're going to be facing a very intense couple of months. Obviously, Scotland unfortunately won't be going to the World Cup, so there's maybe scope for some of these guys to get a break halfway through the season. But I think it's important that he gets a proper chance now just to recalibrate and just to properly allow his body physically to recover and mentally just to take a break from it.
But delighted for the likes of Ralston and Taylor and Turnbull seeing some game time at international level.
Yeah, I think Tony Ralston in particular will be very pleased with the fact that he's broken into that first team setup at international level. And again, the challenge exists now for him to go and push on in a domestic context and see if he can sustain it.
Well, I think there's only one comment to end the broadcast on today, Alison. It's Jerry Coyle who says, Celtic players have embraced the words of Ken Dodd, happiness, happiness. If you're of a certain vintage, you'll remember that Ken Dodd song. Well, enjoy the sunshine. I'm sure that will make everybody happy today. Alison, as always, first class contribution. Thanks for the comments, guys, in the section. Really appreciate it. We are away to work, sadly, but if you're able to enjoy the sun, enjoy it. Have a great day, and we'll see you all again tomorrow. Thanks, Alison.
Take care.